Hello everyone, this is Wes Henson, pastor of the Ridge Church. The Ridge Church campus is located at 7350 Old Highway 13 in Carbondale, Illinois. And I want to thank you for joining me again today as we give a quick on-the-go summary of this week's small group Bible study for the week of September the 18th, 2022 at the Ridge Church. Today we are in week 3 of our study of the New Testament book of James. And the series that we are in is titled Living Out Your Faith. And this week our study is focused on faith on display in your actions. And we will be studying James chapter 2, verses 14 through 26. In our first session, we looked at our faith being on display during hard times. James says to consider it joy whenever you face all kinds of trials, the easy ones and the most difficult of ones. Last week we looked at our faith being on display in our relationships. We ought not to treat some folks better and other folks poorly. So if you click on the links, you're going to find a printed summary of this week's lesson. Then join us on campus Sunday morning at 9 a.m. or online Tuesday night at 6:30 on Facebook or our website as we go into detail. Okay, let's get started in this week's study. Now, most Americans, 80%, according to a Lifeway Research survey, believe in God. And of that group, 56% believe in God as revealed in the Scripture. In other words, 56% of Americans believe in the God that we worship through the script that we find in the Scripture. Now, some of us might be encouraged by such a high percentage, and we might also wonder, well, why the ethical and moral standards of America do not match that percentage. And you see, too many people fail to align what they believe with what they do. And so the book of James teaches us that belief and practice go hand in hand. The point of this week's lesson is what you believe is seen in what you do. All right, let's take a look at our text. James chapter 2, let's begin looking in verses 14 through 17. Verse 14 reads, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but does not have works? Can such faith save him? If a brother or sister is without clothes and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, stay warm, be well fed,' but you don't give them what the body needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith, if it does not have works, is dead by itself." So the truth here is that a faith that's not backed up by our actions is a useless faith. So James here is writing to believers who are Jewish and come from a strong tradition of hospitality. That's their Jewish heritage. The Jewish people were instructed never to turn a stranger in need away, much less a brother and sister. And yet here, in this illustration, no help was offered, only these pious and useless words. And these words weren't merely useless, they were also demeaning and humiliating. Folks, people must see our faith in what we do. Otherwise, our belief, our faith is dead. Think of that image, the image of death. Inactive faith has the smell of death around it. In other words, inactive faith, James says, stinks. All right, let's move on, verses 18 through 20. "But someone will say, 'You have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without works, and I will show you faith by my works. You believe that God is one? Good. Even the demons believe, and they shudder. Senseless person, are you willing to learn that faith without works is useless?'" The truth here is that faith is more than merely what you believe. Like most Americans in our day, those in James' original audience, they believed in God. Just thinking correctly about God, however, is not sufficient. James stressed here that even the demons believe and they shudder, but because their belief has not changed them at all. Genuine faith may begin with good theology, and we need good theology, but it never ends there. It's one thing to talk about God and another thing entirely to obey God by putting that faith into practice. Genuine faith and true works are inseparable. Our works, how we live, are the demonstration of our faith. All right, let's look at these last verses, 21 through 26. Wasn't Abraham, James writes, our father, justified by works in offering Isaac his son on the altar? You see, that faith was active together with his works, and by works, faith was made complete. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness, and he was called God's friend. You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. And in the same way, wasn't Rahab the prostitute also justified by works in receiving the messengers and sending them out by a different route? For just as the body without the spirit is dead, so also faith without works is dead. So the truth in these last verses is that genuine faith is seen in our obedience to God. When God told Abraham to sacrifice Isaac as a burnt offering, Abraham obeyed, and he did it without delay. That's key. By faith, Rahab protected the spies, and God spared her life and the lives of all in her household when the city of Jericho fell. Now, James is not teaching that faith and works are opposing forces, or that works apart from faith can save. Faith and works are complementary concepts. Faith activates our works, and those works complete our faith. Works are not what we do for salvation. They are what we do because of salvation. All right, so let's make some applications to our study this week. You see, too many people fail to align what they believe with what they do. And so the question is, how does your life bear out the truth that what you believe is seen in what you do? So which one of the following applications will you choose to carry out this week? How are you going to apply this week's lesson? Which one of these will you take on? Number one, read and pray. Read Psalm 139, verses 23 and 24, and then pray, asking God to expose areas in your life where you're not living what you claim to believe. And then after praying, develop a plan for life changes to help align your actions with your faith. Application number two, write and reflect. Create a faith in action journal in which you list at least 5 of your core beliefs. And then over the next week, write ways that your actions show or don't show what you're applying that you're applying those beliefs in your life. And then the last application, ask and listen. Ask a trusted friend to speak into your life and tell you how consistent you are at living your faith. And then listen to him or her. Avoid getting defensive. Prepare to make some life changes based upon what you hear. Okay, let's wrap it all up for this week. You see, the problem isn't with what people believe. The problem is that too many of us don't live what we claim to believe. People must see our faith in what we do. Otherwise, our faith, is dead. Okay, if you clicked on the links, you'll find a summary of this week's Bible study, and then join us on campus Sunday morning at 9 a.m. or online Tuesday night at 6:30 on Facebook or our website as we go into detail. Bye for now.